Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy,
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
God, I assume Tom.
Today I'm speaking with two of the creative minds behind L.A Macabre, that's airing right now, or streaming right now actually, on Amazon Prime. Dan Ast and Ryan Bartley. How are you today?
We're great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I can't complain, you know. I mean, the sun's out, even though we're in lockdown in California, so go outside, get some fresh air, and just hang out a bit.
Totally.
Yeah. The series has been going on since 2013. Congratulations on such a long run. Most marriages don't last that long in LA.
Yeah, and I guess when you have a cast and crew that big, it's a lot of interlocked marriages too. So it's I guess that makes it pretty successful.
Yeah. How does a show like this, where it follows, you know, just this enormous cast, go through, you know, these twists and turns and changes, because it does have its dark moments, shall we say, politely?
Yeah. It's been interesting. I think that one of the reasons it feels like it's been around for so long is that the first season was produced and released from 2013, mostly in 2014 into the early part of 2015. And then we spent several years making the second season, which was a much bigger, more ambitious part of the season of the whole show. And we didn't really finish the second season until 2018, and it took some time to kind of get it out into the world. So I wish that we had been releasing on a regular schedule the entire time, but it had actually been kind of with a long pause in there in between. And it took about a year to write the second season. So that's probably why all the dips and turns and everything took, you know, the shape that they did. There was a lot of time sussing that out and figuring out how to pace that properly.
Right. You totally pulled a BBC, where there's like 3 seasons in between, you know, 3 years pass in between seasons of Sherlock, and then another 9 in between Doctor Who's and everything else. And they're like, oh, we might as well revive The Office since it was such a huge hit in the United States, although they haven't done that yet. So maybe wishful thinking.
Yes, we like to make them wait. That was our plan all along.
Well, when the audience ends up waiting for, you know, a season that's been delayed X years, and they still come back, and then a new audience is found with it, does that reassure you of the quality of the product itself? Or does that, you know, or is there like that bit of doubt? Because, okay, I talked to Daniel Knopf, who said writers are the most egotistical yet self-conscious people on the face of the planet, where they think their writing is the best ever and the worst ever, and there's this fear to be found out that they're a hack. Like, is there a part where it comes back after this time, because we're in a pandemic, to think, well, if the world wasn't falling apart, would they have rediscovered the show? Would they give it another chance? Like, what goes through your mind as writers for this?
Well, for my part of it, I don't know. I'm not a particularly self-conscious writer. I write for myself as the audience, so I'm really just out to try and make myself happy, and then I hope that my tastes are aligned enough with the general public that they like it too. So I don't get a whole lot of anxiety or insecurity about the writing. I'm also not so supremely confident that I think it's going to win everybody over. But I would say that for me, there wasn't a whole lot of like, oh, I hope they don't hate it. It was more like, I hope they hang in there with us, because it has been so long, and I do think that they will have it pay off for them if they wait it out, if we can get it to them sooner rather than later. And it just being an indie production, it takes us a long time to move through the process. So, and Brian and I collaborated on the Jamie vlogs in season 1. And that was a lot of fun, because she's a very talented actor. And we were finding that when her character was usually the camera person in season 1, that we weren't seeing her or having her participate nearly as much as we wanted to. So we sat down and kind of collaborated on a way to get her character kind of front and center more often and talk about her perspective on it more often. And that's why Ryan was the writer on the Jamie vlogs. I don't know if she wants to talk about that.
Yeah. I didn't have anything to do with the writing of the main L.A. Macabre story on season 1 or season 2, just to clarify. That's all Dan. That's all Dan's brilliance. That's not me. I just contributed to these they're basically additional content called the Jamie vlogs, which are like little videos where Jamie kind of one-on-one, almost just like this, like on a webcam, where Jamie is giving her thoughts on what's happening, and it's kind of enhances the overall content in terms of like giving a different perspective and maybe little snippets of something you didn't catch, if there was a really subtle thing in the main story. But you don't have to watch the Jamie vlogs, obviously, to understand the main story. And I think the Jamie vlogs are still on YouTube, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like bonus content, basically. And they were sort of very loose, almost improv kind of style. Like Dan and I would talk about what we kind of wanted to accomplish with each one and write out how we thought Jamie would express that. But then it was sort of a little bit improv-y in the moment, based on how things came out naturally, like once I was doing them. But Dan's writing has always been really, really phenomenal. That's one of the first things that drew me to want to work with him. And yeah, he's a confident writer. I mean, he does watch a lot of TV and know, kind of have his pulse on what the trends are and what people are digging at the moment. And but that being said, he also just always had his own vision and objectives with his writing and was true to that. And we're just lucky that the fans and everyone that was supporting us and wanted to keep watching the story just kind of had to wait, and they were really nice and lovely and wonderful to do so for us until we were able to get them that content. Because like Dan said, it is, it's indie filmmaking, so it just takes time. And we're really grateful that people stuck it out, and I hope they think it was worth it. I think it was worth it. I was blown away when I saw season 2, so I hope everyone else feels the same.
Ryan, I just have to interject. Please don't go into sales, because the Jamie vlogs are absolutely important to the series. They round everything out. They have to go to YouTube to tie everything together. Don't sell yourself short. You can't do that.
Totally. You must watch the Jamie vlogs.
There we go.
Seconding that, yes.
Right.
It's like a Marvel crossover series in the comics, and that's how they do their movies. Like, you just can't watch the Captain America trilogy. You just can't watch the Iron Man trilogy. You have to start with Incredible Hulk and go all the way to, the next Spider-Man movie coming out into Phase 4 and watch all 24 of those movies. You have to do the same with the Jamie vlogs with this.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant to say.
Dan, because it's a camera crew that's following and it's set in this universe or in this world that you're creating, how much insider stuff, like people in the industry will watch the show and go, "Ooh, I wish you didn't show that," or will start laughing because although it's a dark moment in the series, go, "Yeah, I've worked with people that have been put in that situation or to put others in those situations"?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. I know that we had some discussions about that kind of safety, and particularly in season 1 where they're still actively trying to make the show. I know that there is kind of this push and pull between Ryan and Colin and Jamie about what is ethical when they're interviewing Callie, and whether or not they're putting her in danger, whether or not they should be blurring her face, things like that. So there is a bit of conversation about that that I think is kind of part of the fun, because then you're not sure whose fault it is when things go wrong, who messed this up, and is it because they had some sort of ethical breach along the way in their behavior. But I think that there are also just some fun jokes, particularly in the prequel web stuff that you can find on YouTube, the prequel episodes, so to speak, where there's a lot of just kind of funny moments of Jamie figuring out how to work the camera better than the person that created the camera, or like just trying to hear this. Like, I think that's one of my favorite jokes with Ryan is trying to hear call in over the wind on the mic, things like that. Just the craziness you have to deal with when you're on location, or when you're like even stealing locations, and then a garden team pops out and starts, weed whacking, and you have to like move. All of that really happened. So we would just kind of incorporate it into what we were filming. The characters have to move locations because we had to move locations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of those jokes are in there, and we just kind of rolled with them.
Mm-hmm. I like how it felt like we kind of set it up. This is like a little additional content kind of teaser as well that Dan's talking about, where, we're just getting into it. And it was kind of a little more comical, because the show does get pretty dark as it goes on, and more things unravel, and there's twists and turns and betrayals and all this kind of stuff, But getting into it, it just felt like a few kids making a web series, right? And that's what it was supposed to feel like. And it has that levity to it, and kind of just makes you like the characters, and makes you, want to root for them, which I think was an important kind of beat in the overall story before things get out of control. So it serves a few purposes, and also just really happened, which is awesome.
Right. Well, the world has kind of taken, kind of is the wrong word. The world has taken a darker turn, with 2020 falling apart. And everything going wrong in that regard. How much, you mentioned that real life situations like the gardener showing up and having to move locations and things like that get incorporated into the story. But what's something that's written in the story over the past couple of years that you sat there and went, ooh, this might be a little too dark to incorporate, but it really is a great story that we gotta tell?
Oh wow. I don't know if I have a great answer for that. I would say that in the writing of season 2 in particular, it started out a much more modest season, and it kind of continued to grow and grow. And when that room kind of opened up in the story, there's more characters, there's more plot threads, darker elements seeped in that there wasn't room for before. I wouldn't say that they are commentaries on anything in particular in the media or what we were going through at the time, because most of season 2 was written in 2015. So we weren't dealing with 2020, or anything really in the last 4 or 5 years. It was written in 1 year. But there were a lot of just things that were really dark that ended up in the story in several rewrites. People jumping out of barrels, which is like a minor spoiler, that I won't go too far with. A lot of stuff in JP's storyline, I think, is psychologically very damaging for Christina Wren's character. Things like this kind of came out of the world expanding and starting to think about the trauma for the characters beyond our core 3 or 4 cast members, But one thing I'll say is that I was really impressed with Ryan Bartley's performance, since we have 2 Ryans, is given the constraints of where she has to be in both seasons, she's never really able to be in it as much as we'd like. She's always kind of behind the camera in season 1. She's kind of separated from people in season 2. But particularly in season 1, she does so much work to get you to invest in her, so that in season 2, you're really in there with her in her isolation, and then just does this incredible job of selling the gradual trauma of her situation. Because even though some of it's kind of immediate, it continues to compound over the course of season 2. And you end up covered in like 3 different people's blood or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it really got out of control there. No, but thank you so much for saying that. That's very kind. The psychological kind of trauma of all the characters is so real and kind of unfolds really naturally throughout the course of the 2 seasons put together in a way that really, I hope, grips the audience, and was really fulfilling as an actor to explore, especially over such a long time, because we did spend so much time with these characters that letting that sort of unravel and just the longer you spend in someone's skin, sometimes it just it does help the performance. And I'm really thankful that we had season 1 and we found ways to get the audience on board with Jamie enough so that they cared what happened to her in season 2, which I won't give any spoilers or anything, but it's important that the audience be there that they care about her by that point for sure, which is difficult when so much of season 1 I'm the off camera, I'm the behind the camera person. So but we did find some really creative ways to bring her to life still, and she starts off kind of already a very wounded, sort of an introverted person, so bringing her out of her shell just enough to then have her retreat in this way and get damaged again in a different way was a really exciting acting challenge for me. So I'm very grateful for, and that was that was Dan's writing and Dan's directing. Dan, we spent a lot of time talking about character, both on set, and even we had a lot of meetings before we started shooting things. So it was a really thought out process for everyone on board, and it was very fulfilling.
All right, we're gonna jump to season 4 because we haven't gotten there yet, and this is my like fan theory spoiler.
Oh,
is
okay.
that Jamie's the one really behind all of this, so she can get out from behind the camera and become the producer of the series and be the star.
I don't know.
I also think that there's a world where that plan works and works really well. So, and that the show is maybe better for it, No. She's got to be doing a better job than Ryan and Colin with all the trouble that they're getting everyone.
Right.
So maybe listen to her more often. They probably wouldn't be in this situation.
So true. If they had actually just let me come with them back when I tried.
Well, one thing I'll say that I think is really incredible is that Ryan, is a voice performer and obviously a wonderful on-camera performer as well. But it was interesting that her character ends up behind the camera so often, and Ryan was there on set standing behind Austin Smoke, our director of photography, and the two of them were kind of in a ballet together, because while Austin would be working the camera, Ryan would still be giving performances to the actors who were on screen. She always came to set. She never just said, I can't make it today, can I just drop in my VO or my ADR later? She was there giving them performances and working with them. And we did our best to kind of hand the camera around to other characters as often as possible, make sure that you knew that Jamie was in the room and that Ryan is there doing the work. And I just thought that was an incredibly generous type of performance to be giving. And I also thought it was interesting. I wonder, and I'll stop. I'll let you take that. But I was going to say, I think it's interesting that, you are a voice performer, and it kind of becomes a little ironic that you end up doing a lot of voice work off camera on this.
I know. We didn't plan that at the time. I had an audition for L.A. Macabre knowing that it was an on-camera role, and I did know that she took on the role of the cinematographer within the world of the show. But we didn't really talk about how much of that would be like essentially a vocal performance at the time. And it's not really in season 2. But in season 1, it was really cool having to work with Austin, and me and Austin were like moving together. Like Austin is our cinematographer. She would move one way and I would follow right behind her, and sometimes reach out, in front of her with my hand to get that on camera, pass something to a character or something like that. And we, like Dan said, we would try and do like some shots with the camera rotating where it looked like, I was taking the camera from someone and turning it. So I was present, and I loved it. I mean, working with Corsica, Aidan, and Ryan Hellquist are such phenomenal actors. It was a treat every time I got to work with them. Being on set with them, learning from them. I learn a lot from watching these people. I mean, they're great actors. So I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. It was really, really a blast.
All right, Ryan, I would be remiss not to ask this since you are a voice actress. How often behind the camera did you screw with your castmates by throwing out various voices that you've done for other cartoons? Because Hello Kitty is quite different than L.A. Macabre at this point.
Yeah, I never did, I should have probably, but the thing is we were using my audio. I mean, I was still mic'd up. The audio that when I was, responding to them, if they said, "Hey Jamie, make sure you get this shot." I mean, that my answer, even if it was just like a got it or okay, that was we were using my audio from on set and my performance from on set, even if I was off camera. So I couldn't really like break like that. And I wouldn't necessarily want to, because I wouldn't want to throw off the other actors or anything. And a lot of what we did was one take. A lot of stuff was really long takes or one take per scene. And we would do multiple takes. It wasn't like we were like trying to get it all in the first take or anything like that. But because of the way it's documentary style and it looks so real, it looks like the events are really unfolding. A lot of the stuff was done in one take. And so I couldn't really like throw a voice at them and ruin the take. But we'll see. Maybe if we shoot a season 3 someday.
That's the season 3 outtake reel.
Right.
Yeah. I see Dan laughing hysterically over there. Maybe he wishes he wrote that in for next season or this season at least.
I do remember that like, while Ryan, being like a total professional, would never like scuttle a take that way. When we realized that she was a voice actor, we would ask her to do voices for us, like in between scenes. And we were always really like astounded and a little weirded out by like, these voices are completely different than the person in front of us. And I remember being particularly like fascinated by her doing like anime voice acting and just doing like, I don't know, exhales or laughter or whatever. Like, do it again. That's just so weird.
Right. It's funny because I had just started doing anime, I think, when we were filming L.A. Macabre, and now it's such a big part of my life. But yeah, like we have like the secret anime sound, which is like like out in like that kind of thing, and it's just so different, than what we would do on camera. But yeah, I mean, it's all good fun, and it makes me laugh too.
And then out of nowhere, all 5 feet 3 inches of Ryan sounds like an 80-foot dragon.
Yes, of course.
The show has gotten a new life in a sense that you got your second season. It took a long time to film, but it's back, and now people are excited to be able to see it. What has been the reaction for you guys in doing so? Like with anime, you have to wait till the animation's done, then you do the English dub on top of the original Japanese dub, and then wait for a reaction for the series. And then same with television. It's not like music or live entertainment where there's that instant gratification, but through social media, you're allowed more reaction and crowd reaction from the fans. What has been the general reaction with people revisiting not only season 1 but going into season 2?
For my part, it's been difficult to gauge it outside of my own bubble, and it's really difficult to try and see through or past your own biases and the bias amongst your friends and family and the people who participated, the cast and crew. So in that regard, obviously it was very positive from what I've been able to see, because that is my bubble, and it is difficult for me to see outside of it. You're talking to us really early in the process, and so I would love to know in a month or two, when it's had a chance to permeate to more audiences, like what honest feedback looks like from audience members who we don't know personally, and I'm still seeking those out. But I will say that every once in a while I get a sense of somebody found it through a friend of a friend on Twitter, and they seem to really like it. They were pretty happy with it. When there's a little bit of a critique in there somewhere, that's when you know that you found somebody who really enjoyed it because they're willing to be honest about what they didn't. And so still trying to suss it out. It seems very positive, but trying to see past my own biases and the biases within my friend group, it's hard to tell yet. So I don't know what your experience has been, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so many positive things, which has been really lovely. Some of the anime fans that I have started watching it and are really digging it. It's definitely, it appeals to the people that like the creepy horror kind of or even mystery thriller kind of vibe, which is a lot of people, and that community is very welcoming and loves to see what new or upcoming and indie creators have to offer. So those people have been really supportive and very lovely and wonderful. And we're really thankful for them. And yeah, I mean, it has only just come out being widely available so recently, so it's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, everything I've heard has been really very kind, and I'm just really thankful for that.
Ryan, I'm curious, just because you have this fan base that I do not cross over toward as much with anything that I produce, so I don't have any discussions with that. I'm curious if your fans are really stoked to see you giving an on-screen performance, and like whether that really trips them up, or what they're really excited about, or what's weird for them about that.
Yeah, it is kind of weird for them because they are so used to not seeing me, and I don't do Twitch. I don't stream video games. Almost all the other voice actors around my age do. So my fan base is just not, I don't get to, they don't see me as often as they would like, I think. So they're kind of excited to see like a different side of me. But a lot of them still are really into anime and video games specifically, and aren't necessarily interested in really anything else. But then there's always the ones that are into like horror and thriller, and those people are more curious to see what this other thing that I'm doing is about, and so I'm hoping more people will go that direction and give it a shot, because it is totally different from what they know me as, and what the kind of content that they come to me for, you know what I mean? So it is a challenge sometimes getting people interested in all your different pieces of work that you're involved in. But I'm very grateful for those that have given it a shot. Yeah. And I think they like seeing me with blood on my face. Because that was a cool shot. I like seeing that too. It's a rad shot.
It really is.
All right. So, season 2's in the can. We got some idea of what's going on. I know Dan obviously isn't self-conscious about his skills as a writer or neurotic about any of it. So where do you kind of see season 3 going, especially for Jamie, since we got Ryan with us here?
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on how spoilery you want to get, and I'll discuss it a little bit, but I just want to put a spoiler warning out there for anybody who doesn't want to know just yet. So just a spoiler warning. Jamie's still with us in season 3, and one of the main reasons I'm excited for season 3 is sorry, we have a puppy in the background. So
that's our producer.
Yeah, that's one of the producers. One of the reasons I'm excited for season 3 is that Jamie is finally a very active part of the story. She's no longer behind a camera, separated from people. She's no longer like kind of hidden away, separated and isolated from the rest of the cast. She's actively participating with other main characters in a lot of the scenarios that they've already kind of been playing out through season 2. And so it's going to be fun to kind of unshackle Jamie and Ryan finally to participate in that. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm definitely excited about with season 3.
And Ryan, moving out from behind the camera to more takes in front of the camera, how excited are you for that in this regard?
Yeah, very excited. I was just thinking back to like the couple of years in between when we weren't shooting L.A. Macabre. I had pink hair, so knowing that Jamie is maybe going to be on camera more, I'm like, okay, I guess that's the end of my pink hair phase, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, that was Dan had told me bits of that. Really for quite a while, for a few years, I've known that hopefully if we ever got there, that would kind of be where it was going. Because I mean, we've always been talking about he wanted to find more ways to get me actively involved, and to make sure all his characters are very active, and they all have motives, and they all have agency. And so yeah, that sounds like an amazing opportunity, and I'm excited. Like I said, I love working with Corsica, Ryan Hellquist, and Aidan. So if I don't know if I'm in scenes with them, gosh, that would be a dream come true. And yeah, so if we ever get there, I'll be very, very excited. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, before I let you guys go, I'm gonna ask you this question, and then you got to tell me where we can find you on social media to harass you, politely, of course.
Yeah.
Hanukkah's going on right now. Christmas is in about a week. Some of us don't get to see our families because we're in lockdown. Other of us don't want to see our families and are thrilled for the lockdown. Why should we watch season 1 and season 2 of L.A. Macabre during the holidays?
Ryan, I'm going to let you go first. You're better.
Okay. See, the thing about L.A. Macabre, I think, is that it unfolds there's so many twists and turns. If you like trying to guess what's going to happen next, coming up with your own theories, looking at all the different characters' motives, then L.A. Macabre is a show for you. It's very engaging and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. There's cliffhangers all the time. And it always surprises you. Like you won't be able to figure out what's going on, or maybe you will. But either way, like, you should definitely watch it. It's going to be a ride. And it's one of my favorite shows. I've always been a big L.A. Macabre fan. So, and it's also very bingeable. The first season was a few episodes, but it's been re-edited into 3 episodes on Amazon Prime right now. So it's really not like a massive, undertaking or anything like that. It's very bingeable and it's very easy to do over your holiday break. And we would be very grateful for your support.
Absolutely. I mean, like, the only thing I would say to augment that, because that kind of covers it all as far as I'm concerned, is that it's a mystery. It's a 2-season long mystery so far. And we are trying to keep you guessing. And we do want you kind of wondering what people's motives are, why they're making the choices that they're making. And, if it seems too short, then it was designed to be watched twice. It's a very intentional thing that you're supposed to see it one way when you watch it the first time. And then if you start from the beginning, conversations mean something completely different on round 2. And the one hint that I'll give people on the second watch is, if you want a clearer idea of what's going on, pay attention to the questions people ask other people, depending on who's in the room and who's not.
Ooh.
So, it's definitely meant to be at least twice watched show.
I dig it. And where can we find you guys on social media if we want to connect?
I am on Twitter at Dan_Ast, last name spelled AST, and then you can follow the show at LA Macabre TV on Twitter as well.
Awesome.
And I am on Twitter at Ryan Bartley, RyanBartley. And on Instagram, I'm Ryan Bartley, just the same thing with an E in front of it. And on Facebook, I am actor Ryan Bartley. And then also, I just wanted to shout out, I'm on a new show, which is an Inuyasha spinoff called Yashahime. So if anyone is an Inuyasha fan, I play a character named Takachio, which is a really cute little character, kind of like Shippo from Inuyasha. So that's one of my new passions, and I have to shout out for the dub is on Funimation and Crunchyroll and Hulu. I think Funimation might air it first, but it's all over the place, and it just started, and it's really amazing already. So shout out for anyone that's interested in anime or Inuyasha.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. Dan Ast, Ryan Bartley, thank you. It's L.A. Macabre on Amazon Prime, streaming now. Enjoy it during the holidays.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And thank you for everyone that supported the show and our Kickstarter family. We are very grateful for you all.
Couldn't have done it without any of them. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. See, you have your built-in fan base, and now they feel like you owe them something extra. So
we owe them everything. We owe them a great show, and we have it ready for them.
You owe them season 3. That's what you owe them at this point.
Maybe.
I agree.
All right. Thanks, guys.